the presentation of the colors and the singing of the national anthem by Jessica Vance.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that a flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. Good afternoon. On behalf of the university community, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Spring 2016 Graduate Commencement Exercises. Let me begin by introducing the individuals sitting on the stage who are here to honor today's graduates and who represent the academic and administrative leadership of the university. We are pleased to have with us today representatives from Virginia Tech's Board of Visitors. Board members are appointed by the governor, and Virginia Tech greatly benefits from their deep and genuine commitment to the university. I am pleased to introduce these board members: Deborah Petrine, Rector; James Chapman, William Fairchild, Thomas Ryan, and Dennis Tracy. I would also like to welcome Dr. Rami Dalul, faculty representative to the board, and Mr. Mohammed Sayem, our graduate student representative. Ladies and gentlemen, please recognize with your applause these representatives of the university's governing board once more. At this time, I'm pleased to introduce the senior leadership and deans of our colleges. Dr. Thanasis Rakakis, Executive Vice President and Provost. Dr. Karen DePaw, Vice President and Dean for Graduate Education. Dr. Rosemary Bleasner, Associate Dean of the Graduate School. Dr. Mohammed Haj, Associate Dean of the Graduate School. Dr. Amy Pruden, Associate Dean of the Graduate School. Dr. Alan Grant, Dean, College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. Mr. Jack Davis, Dean, College of Architecture and Urban Studies. Mr. Robert Summacras, Dean, Pamplin College of Business. Dr. Richard Benson, Dean, College of Engineering. Dr. Elizabeth Spiller, Dean, College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences. Dr. Paul Winnestorfer, Dean, College of Natural Resources and Environment. And Dr. Gary Long, Associate Dean, College of Science. Dr. Cyril Clark, Dean, Virginia, Maryland Regional College of Veterinary Medicine. Dr. Sherwood Wilson, Vice President for Administration. Mr. Charles D. Flieger, Vice President for Advancement. Dr. Scott Midkiff, Vice President for Information Technology and Chief Information Officer. Mr. M. Dwight Shelton, Vice President for Finance and Chief Financial Officer. Dr. Patty Perillo, Vice President for Student Affairs. Thank you. Also on stage are Dr. Joseph Marola, who will read the names of the graduates. Mr. Richard Rodriguez, the Graduate Student Marshal. Mr. Nathan Carter, Graduate Honor System Chief Justice. And Mr. Matt Chan, President of the Graduate Student Assembly and live tweeter. The speakers will be introduced shortly. Throughout this ceremony, we recognize your significant achievement and celebrate your talents, skills, and hard work. It's also important to note that these students would not have achieved their goals without the teaching, guidance, and mentorship of Virginia Tech's outstanding faculty. I would now like the faculty to please stand and be recognized. Just as crucial as the role of the faculty, the supporting cast of family, friends, and community members behind each graduate student deserve recognition. Would all the parents, grandparents, children, aunts, uncles, friends, and more please stand so that we can thank and congratulate you as well. Graduate students are important to the university's research, teaching, and engagement missions and are able to earn degrees in Blacksburg at locations across the Commonwealth and online. During the spring semester, 1,349 students earned advanced degrees and certificates from an offering of 89 master's and 70 doctoral programs in 8 colleges. There are approximately 590 of these graduates here today. As part of the graduate commencement, we invite an outstanding graduate student to provide a brief message on behalf of the graduating student body, followed by the keynote speaker to provide perspectives and reflections. It is now my pleasure to present Virginia Tech's Executive Vice President and Provost, Thanasis Rakakis, who will introduce the graduate student speaker and the keynote speaker.
Thank you. Pleasure to welcome all of you in this breezy, cool afternoon in our Coliseum. Those of you who are out there, I expect you're going to invent some new regalia that behaves like the weather behaves, right? So it would be cool today and warm in the winter. So we're waiting for you to do that, and then when you do it, we'll all be honoring you. So it is my pleasure to introduce our graduate student speaker for today, Meredith Skaggs, who earned her master's degree in mining and minerals engineering. Ms. Skaggs is a key player in a study of respirable dust in underground coal mines, both in the field and in the lab, according to her advisor. She single-handedly led a field sampling campaign to collect samples, an effort that was the equivalent of spending more than 7 weeks underground to gather some 350 dust samples. Those in the industry and at the mines praised her professionalism and her communication skills during the project. She has published 2 conference papers and presented her work at international meetings. She also has earned praise for her teaching responsibilities and helped establish the Beverly Watford Society for Diversity in Mining at the College of Engineering. Please join me in welcoming Meredith Skaggs.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. Dear President Sands, distinguished guests, faculty and staff, family and friends, and most importantly, my fellow students. Congratulations. This is a day when we can celebrate how far we have come, not only as individuals, but also in our contributions to our community. For those of you sitting in the audience, I would like to say thank you from all of us sitting in anticipation below for helping us along the way. Your support, guidance, and patience have been immeasurably meaningful and helpful to us during this journey. They always say that all graduate students can talk about is their research. But truthfully, for all of you waiting to cross this stage today, thank you for your dedication and commitment to pursuing continued higher education. During my time here, I have become intimately aware of why they put the "re" in research. We have all spent many hours devoted to our projects, experiments, and papers while earning these degrees. And this is something for which I think we should all be extremely proud. What I think is unique about our degrees that we're earning today is that we have become experts in our specific areas of study. And not only this, but our research allows us to expand our experiences beyond the classrooms at Virginia Tech. We can go and work in the field and with our community. For myself, my research gave me the opportunity to work in underground coal mines throughout Appalachia, where the miners and operators with whom I interacted have significantly influenced my life. These experiences, I think, are something that I believe is truly humbling and empowering, because we can see how our research and our work is being implemented in the community and having a direct impact on those around us. And now, we get the chance to share our work and ourselves with everyone. When we walk across the stage today, we can share with everyone what it means to be a graduate of Virginia Tech. We are coming from an incredible school that is filled with talented individuals committed to serving others. For as our school motto, Ut Prosum, says, that I may serve. So I challenge you all here today to continue spreading the legacy of Virginia Tech and serving others to make the world better in any way possible. And I congratulate you as well. I am thankful and proud to call you my peers, and I am continuously amazed by the incredible work that you all do. I wish you the best as we go forth from today into the next chapter of our lives. Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Skaggs. Today, I have the pleasure to introduce Dr. Stanley Atsiri, a distinguished member of technical staff at Sandia National Laboratories in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in the Energy Storage Technology and Systems Department. In 2006, he was the first American Indian male to earn a PhD in electrical and computer engineering from Virginia Tech. He grew up in Shiprock, New Mexico, and was the first member of his family to pursue a college career. He leads the Power Electronics sub-program as part of the U.S. Department of Energy's Energy Storage Program and has gained international recognition for his work. 5 of his projects have won the prestigious R&D 100 award from the Research and Development magazine. Dr. Adsiti has more than 50 publications and holds 4 patents, with 2 more pending. In 2007, he received the American Indian Science and Engineering Society Technical Excellence Award for his American Indian community involvement and technical achievement. In 2012, President Barack Obama presented Dr. Adsiti with the Presidential Early Career Award for Scientists and Engineers. In addition to his work, he also mentors students in his field. Please welcome Dr. San Adsiti.
Thank you so much. Yate do hehe. Hello and welcome, everyone. I wanted to greet you in my native language. I'm very excited to be here. I also brought along my beautiful wife and beautiful daughter with me to celebrate this moment with you. Before I continue, I'd like to express my thanks to Dr. Rukakis for his kind introduction. Also to President Sands, the Board of Visitors, faculty, staff, and again, family members who are represented out there. The mothers, fathers that are represented here, grandparents, and all who supported you, this is also their special day. And most importantly, you, the graduates, the class of 2016. It is a great honor to celebrate this moment with you and to be selected to speak in front of you. I'm very honored and elated to be here. I first came to Blacksburg about 19 years ago. Through Sandia National Laboratories, I was involved with a small project with the university. This project introduced me to Virginia Tech and also to the city of Blacksburg, Virginia. It is always good to be back. I'm a member of the Navajo tribe. In our language, we call ourselves Dene, which simply means the people. As you recall, our language was made popular during World War II because of our complex syntax and tonal qualities, and not to mention our multiple dialects within the tribe. It made it impossible for the enemy to decipher the Navajo code. I am very proud to speak my native language. Because of this, I'm also very thankful for all the men and women who are now serving and have served in the military. They deserve all our respect. There are over 550 federally recognized American Indian tribes in the United States. We have the largest reservation. So to give you scale, it's basically the size of West Virginia. We have our own president, vice president, various administrations, and judicial system. It is basically a small country in the United States. When I go back to the Navajo Reservation, I'm often asked, Stan, what do you do at Sandia National Laboratories? I've tried many times to connect with my people and to describe to them what I do exactly. So I finally figured it out. Next time I was asked, what do you do at Sandia National Laboratories? I said in my own language, Sandia National Laboratories, which simply means I work with lightning and I tell the lightning what to do. At the core, at the base of that, it is definitely true. Electrons. You're dealing with electrons. You're telling the electrons what to do. And perhaps maybe I should just first change my first name from Stan to Dances with Lightning. I'm an electrical engineer, and I've been directing a program out of the Electricity's Office of Electricity's Energy Storage Power Electronics program since the late 1900s. That always sounds like a long time, doesn't it? I've been involved in developing the next generation power electronics for grid-tied energy storage systems since that time. As an engineer, I love the irreducible minimum philosophy. That is taking complex topics and reducing them in simple terms. I'm sure you will run into these complex topics, whether it's topics in medicine, politics, philosophy, engineering, or others. You will have to communicate it to multiple audiences. Most of the time, it will have to be in layman's terms. This is not a skill learned overnight. It is learned over time. When you master this skill early in your career, the more marketable you will become. As Albert Einstein puts it, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And I can't agree more. I grew up on a Navajo reservation in a small town in Shiprock, New Mexico. Upon entering grade school, English became my second language, and I began to discover that math and reasoning came easy to me. Building things have always been my passion, and it was and still is an elemental part of my life. I was the first in my family to pursue secondary education, and basketball became my favorite activity. Basketball, as you can see, I'm not that tall. I'm actually not that good, but I love the game of basketball. Immediately after high school, I started working as a laborer because my family needed money. While digging a ditch one early morning, I had an epiphany. I stopped and asked myself, is this what I'm going to do the rest of my life? No, I said. I chose to further my education instead. This was a major turning point in my life. And I will guarantee you that you will encounter multiple points in your lives where you have to search within and make major decisions. I started at a community college and I transitioned to New Mexico State University. While at New Mexico State, I went from a student-teacher ratio of 1 to 10 to 1 to 100. Being an American engineer, I was intimidated by all these students. I was far from family and from the comfort of the reservation, and I thought to myself, I cannot compete with these guys. I am not smart enough. But I did not give up. I began to excel in power electronics, and when I did so, the student that I thought were smarter than me, one of them came to me and said, Stan, can you help me with my homework? That's when I said, all right, I can hang around with these guys. I can be a part of this. My confidence grew and my GPA increased. I've learned over the years that confidence comes in layers, some of them very thin and some of them very thick. You obviously have built up enough confidence by graduating today. May your confidence continue to grow in whatever your endeavor leads you. After receiving my master's from New Mexico State, I thought to myself, I have come this far. Why not take it all the way? So I searched universities, and I chose Virginia Tech. Why Virginia Tech? At the time, it was considered one of the best and largest power electronics program. That's why I chose Virginia Tech. During graduation, similar to what we see today, I had no idea I would be recognized as the first American Indian male to graduate from the Electrical and Computer Engineering Department at Virginia Tech. Thank you so much for that honor, Virginia Tech. To give you a perspective and to give you a reason why this is so special to me, in 2006, the year I graduated, according to the National Center for Education Statistics, there were 4.5 American Indians in the United States, representing 1.5% of the total U.S. population. And in 2006, American Indian accounted for a little over 1% of the total enrollment in the colleges and university. The percentage of American Indians pursuing STEM degrees is even lower. This data and Virginia Tech's recognition makes me even more proud to be a Hokie. Someday, you will have your first in something. First in a new idea, first to make a new discovery, or perhaps first in something extraordinary that makes this world a much better place to live in. During my entire year, I never thought I would ever meet the President of the United States in the White House. In 2012, President Obama presented me with the Career Award for Scientists and Engineers. It was for my contributions to energy research and for the mentorship to the American Indian community. I've always been fascinated by the White House and what it represents. When business takes me to Washington, D.C., my fascination draws me to the White House. Even if I just gaze at a distance, I often have a typical view of the White House. Prior to the award ceremony, we were given a special tour. While inside, I stood by a window on the second floor. This time, rather than looking in, I was looking out. By the way, it's a great view from there. You have the National Monument, you have the Jefferson Memorial, South Lawn, it's a beautiful view. While I was standing there, it took me all the way back from the Navajo Reservation, all the challenges that I have been through and I have overcome working at San Diego National Laboratories to this point in time. And I thought to myself, the world leaders, the past presidents, the current president, and the future president all have looked or will look through the same window. And there I was, an American Indian professional about to receive an award from the President of the United States. It was both exciting and humbling at the same time. When you have the drive and passion to do in what you do, it does not go unrecognized. And perhaps you too will someday be honored by a future president. While I had a brief moment with the president, there is one thing I regret. That is not asking him if I could play basketball on the West Wing. He and I share the same passion of basketball. I knew that there was going to be a slim chance, but I thought it'd be worth it anyway. Perhaps before he leaves the office, he and I could play basketball. However, I always think if I ever make a three-point play on the White House basketball court, I might as well just retire. It just doesn't get any better than that. And finally, our elders say, "Di oltcha holyehigi, ahol ago olye, to kate yahara." Learning does not stop here. Master a lifelong pursuit of learning, have an inquisitive mind, be a productive member of society. Please take care of the environment. Maintain your hobbies and interests like basketball, and have a successful career. As Benjamin Franklin puts it, without continual growth and progress, such words as improvement, achievement, and success have no meaning. I'm proud to be a member of the Navajo Nation, and I'm also very proud to be a member of the Hokie Nation. So, thank you so much for having me here to share this memorable and significant milestone with you. And again, congratulations to the class of 2016.
Thank you very much. We call you Dancing with Lightning, Dr. Dancing with Lightning. I would like to just share with you that it was in 2006 when Stan was out there on the basketball court, not playing basketball, he was out there with you. 10 years later, he is now here to celebrate the other view. Thank you very much for your commitment to graduate education and to learning among all of us. At this time, I will ask Mr. Charles Flieger, Vice President for Advancement, to join me in a presentation of a very special award. The success of a university is often best reflected in the accomplishments of its alumni. Together, the Graduate School and the Alumni Association have established the Graduate Alumni Achievement Award. This award is to recognize graduates who have achieved the highest goals in their fields. I'm very pleased to announce that the 2016 recipient of the Graduate Alumni Achievement Award is Laura DeNardis. Laura, would you please come forward?
Laura DeNardis is a professor and associate dean in American University School of Communication. Dr. DeNardis earned her PhD in Science and Technology Studies from Virginia Tech. After earning a bachelor's degree from Dartmouth College and a master's degree from Cornell University. A globally recognized internet governance scholar, her work has been featured in many respected national publications. She is an affiliated fellow of the Yale Law School Information Society Project, serving as its executive director from 2008 to 2011. Laura is also a senior fellow of the Center for International Governance Innovation, the director of research for the Global Commission on Internet Governance, and an appointed member of the U.S. Department of State's Advisory Committee on International Communication and Information Policy. She is one talented Hokie. Please help us welcome Laura DeNardis.
Thank you very much, Vice President Flieger and Dean DePauw, President, and good afternoon, everyone. I am truly honored to receive this Alumni Achievement Award, and I'm thrilled to be able to come down from Washington to Blacksburg today to join you in person. I do want to say that my chapter at Virginia Tech was an extremely pivotal one for me that opened up tremendous opportunities, and I'm very, very appreciative of that. And those of you receiving graduate degrees today will understand why I want to take a moment to thank my dissertation advisor, Janet Abate, who did so much for me, and I know that you'll join me in thanking your thesis and dissertation advisors as well as our wonderful families. Today is just one example of all that this institution has given me, but I've realized that the time that I spent at Virginia Tech I value even more. So thank you very much, and congratulations to the class of 2016.
Each year, we select an unsuspecting graduate student for special recognition. Today, we are recognizing a student and a program. And I don't think anybody except people who wrote the script know where I'm going with this. So, if you took, those of you on the floor, if you took advantage of the Graduate Student Assembly's cap and gown loan program for the regalia you are wearing, please stand up. I know many of you are in this room. Okay. You can thank Richard Rodriguez for that opportunity. As a member, you can be seated now. As a member of the GSA, he initiated the free regalia lending program, which helps hundreds of students each semester, as well as one providing loans for poster tubes, wireless pointers for students to use in their presentations and conferences. Richard is receiving his doctorate in genetics, bioinformatics, and computational biology. Richard, congratulations and thank you. Every graduate student has a story to tell about their journey to degree completion, and we don't have enough time to go through all of them, but we're going to give a couple of examples here. Along with support from family and friends, there are many varied resources required to achieve this goal. I would like to recognize some of the graduate students and ask them to stand and remain standing until I reach the end. And some of you know where I'm going with this. Please rise and remain standing if you have received a fellowship, scholarship, national endowment, or one bestowed by local, regional governments, corporations, organizations, and professional societies. Some of you should be standing, yes. Please rise and remain standing if you have received a scholarship donor to the Virginia Tech Foundation or one created by your department to honor former faculty, alumni, or longtime supporters. Or if you were a recipient of the Graduate School's Award for Outstanding Master's and Doctoral students in each college, the Alumni Association Graduate Teaching Excellence or Service Excellence Award, the William Preston Society Master's Thesis, or Graduate Student of the Year. There should be more of you standing. Please rise and remain standing if you have worked to become a graduate school citizen scholar or diversity scholar, or participated in the Global Perspectives program from the graduate school, or you were inducted into the Leadership Society of Alpha Epsilon Lambda, or the Interdisciplinary, IDR, Interdisciplinary Research Society, or the Edward Boucher Graduate Honor Society. Please stand if you have served the university by participating in the Graduate Honor System or in governance through Graduate Student Assembly on a university committee representative to the Board of Visitors. Please rise if you have participated in the Research Symposium or the GUMP program, Graduate Undergraduate Mentoring Program, or were awarded a teaching, research, or general assistantship funded by the University or the grad school, your college department, or from a research grant. Okay, we're getting there. Please rise and remain standing if you have presented your work at a national or international conference or received a travel or research grant through the grad school or through the Graduate Student Assembly, or attended the many events and workshops offered by the GSA or the grad school throughout the year. Please stand if you have ever visited the Graduate Life Center here in Blacksburg, attended the grad school GTA workshop, attended in Roanoke and National Capital Region, or any lecture symposium held in the GLC, reserved one of the rooms, spent some time in the reading room, computer lab, student lounge, visited the cafe, the residence hall. Some of you have lived in the residence hall. Walk-in services, career service, you get the idea. Have any of you rented the grad school bicycles? I don't know about that one. I think there's probably some. Or visited the offices throughout our region, obviously Roanoke National Capital Region. By now, okay, I don't have everybody standing yet, so I got to get I know you have all communicated with the graduate school. Okay, we're going to get everybody standing because we congratulate you for your work, service, outreach, and your accomplishments. Acknowledge the resources. Congratulations. You may be seated. You didn't know this was interactive. It will be more so in a minute. One of the great pleasures of being the graduate dean is to introduce the candidates for the graduate degrees, and we're almost ready to do that. But I want to tell you about a unique gift that is presented to the student body at each commencement. In spring 2004, the grad school began a tradition of presenting a musical gift of an original composition written solely to celebrate the graduate student's commencement. This music accompanies a visual journey of graduate student life so that we can provide you with a glimpse into the diversity and vitality experienced by graduate students each year. The composition this year is by Professor Charles Nichols, and it is entitled Commencement Address. He said he wanted the music to move the listener to experience the full range of emotion a graduate would experience today, from introspection to joy and triumph, as portrayed through different brass instruments. Please take a few moments to enjoy the music accompanying the images and reflections that will be up on the screen.
We will now begin the conferral of degrees. A very old and special tradition in academia accompanies the presentation of the doctoral degree. The doctoral candidate and the student's major advisor, the advisor who most mentored and supervised the student's research, walk together to the stage where the advisor places the hood in a very elegant and graceful manner over the head of the graduate. By hooding the graduate, the faculty member symbolically welcomes the graduate as a professional colleague, and this professional relationship and friendship often continues throughout the graduate's and the mentor's lives.
Will all the candidates for the Doctor of Philosophy and Doctor of Education degrees please rise? President Sands, I have the honor and privilege to present the candidates for the Doctor of Philosophy and Doctor of Education degrees.
With the power vested in me by the Board of Visitors and the Commonwealth of Virginia, and upon recommendation of the faculty, I confer upon you the Doctor of Philosophy and the Doctor of Education degrees to which you are entitled with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto.
Please be seated. Will the marshals please escort the candidates for the doctoral degrees and their major professors to the stage for the hooding ceremony. Professor Joe Marola will be reading the names of the doctoral recipients and the hooding professors.
Receiving the Doctor of Philosophy from the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, a husband and wife, both receiving their doctoral degrees, he in Animal and Dairy Science, Sandeep Gimire, hooded by Professor Mark Hannigan. She in Economics, Agriculture, and Life Sciences, Anupa Sharma, hooded by Professor Jason Grant. In Agriculture and Extension Education, Bijek Gatwech Jeknyal, hooded by Professor James Anderson. Hava Savran Al-Haik, hooded by Professor Curtis Friedel. Courtney Aaron Vengren, hooded by Professor Donna Westfall Rudd. In Animal and Poultry Sciences, Xiao Fei Kong, hooded by Professor Hong Lin Jiang. In Biochemistry, Anne M. Brown, hooded by Professor David Bevan. Anna Lisa Valenciano Murillo, hooded by Professor Zachary Mackey. In crop and soil environmental sciences, B. Kim Chim, hooded by Professor Wade Thomason. Stephanie Brooke Kulesa, hooded by Professor Rory McGuire. Neelam Rajan Redikar, hooded by Professor Mohammad Sagai Maroof. In economics, agriculture, and life sciences, Vanessa Del Rocio Carrion Yaguana, hooded by Professor George Norton. In entomology, John David Engnier Jr., hooded by Professor Thomas Kuhar. In food science and technology, Courtney Alyssa Christ, hooded by Professor Susan Duncan. Alexandra Margaret Walsh, hooded by Professor Susan Duncan. Ailey Wong, hooded by Professor Susan Duncan. In human nutrition, foods, and exercise, and also earning the Master of Public Health degree, Ramin Karis Alexander, hooded by Professor Jamie Zollner. Tanya Michelle Halliday, hooded by Professor Brenda Davey. Lauren Elaine Kennedy, hooded by Professor Elena Serrano. Georgiana Rhodes Mann, hooded by Professor Elena Serrano. In plant pathology, physiology, and weed science, Daniel Tequiela, hooded by Professor Jacob Barney. From the College of Architecture and Urban Studies, in Architecture and Design Research, Mohammed Abdulrahman Aloshan, hooded by Professor James Jones. Dalia O. Hafiz, hooded by Professor James Jones. Nida Norauzi, hooded by Professor James Jones and Professor Shannon Jarrett. In environmental design and planning, Behzad Hamidi, hooded by Professor Tanyel Bulbul. From the Pamplin College of Business, in Business Accounting, Mark Donald Sheldon, hooded by Professor Greg Jenkins. In Business Finance, Jitendra Tayal, hooded by Professor V.J. Singhal. In Business Information Technology, Zachary E. Bowden, hooded by Professor Cliff Ragsdale. from the College of Engineering in Aerospace Engineering, Arafat Kislam Khan, hooded by Professor Rakesh Kapania. Andrew Charles Rogers, hooded by Professor Craig Woolsey and Professor Robert McGuire. Bradley Jason Cease, hooded by Professor Jonathan Black. Hazim Soliman, hooded by Professor Rakesh Kapania. In biomedical engineering, Hyung Jun Cho, hooded by Professor Yang Lee. Ray Daniel, hooded by Professor Stefan Duma. Sharon Ann George, hooded by Professor Stephen Polzing. Amara D. Greer-Short, hooded by Professor Stephen Polzing. Patrick Scott Thayer, hooded by Professor Aaron Goldstein. In chemical engineering, Wei Fong Chan, hooded by Professor Stephen Martin and Professor Wei Pan Chan. In civil engineering, George Allen Bowers, Jr., hooded by Professor Guni Olgan. Ray David, hooded by Professor Lindsay Marr and Professor David Schmale. Kelly Donahue, hooded by Professor Brian Katz and Professor Heshem Rekha. John Lee, hooded by Professor Jason He. Abhilasha Maurya, hooded by Professor Matthew Etherton. Daniel Ricardo Salinas Guayacundo, hooded by Professor Roberto Leon and Professor Yanis Koutramanis. Craig Michael Schilleber, hooded by Professor James Mitchell. Stephanie Marie Smolligan, hooded by Professor Jennifer Irish. In computer engineering, Abdullah Sabri Abdullah Abu Shaishu, hooded by Professor Alan McKenzie. Jacob D. Couch, hooded by Professor Peter Athanas. Sachin Hirva, hooded by Professor Binoy Ravindran. Christopher Frank Morrill, hooded by Professor Scott Midkiff. Kevin Zhang, hooded by Professor Peter Athanas. In Computer Science and Applications, Krishnaraj Kumaraswamy Ravindranathan, hooded by Professor Ali Bhutt. Marjan Momtazpur, hooded by Professor Naren Ramakrishnan. Mohammed Asanur Rahman, hooded by Professor T.M. Murali. Jessica Zeitz Self, hooded by Professor Chris North. Gaurav Tuli, hooded by Professor Madhav Marathe. Shi Yi Wei, hooded by Professor Barbara Ryder. In electrical engineering, Muhammad Akbar, hooded by Professor Masood Aga. Saidiraj Amuru, hooded by Professor Michael Burer. Milisav Danilovich, hooded by Professor Kahi No. Michael John Fraser, hooded by Professor Timothy Pratt. Dao Cheng Huang, hooded by Professor Fred Lee. Hema Reddy, hooded by Professor Virgilio Centeno and Professor James Thorpe. Shu Lin Tian, hooded by Professor Fred Lee. Ying Yi Yan, hooded by Professor Fred Lee. Zaka Ula Zahid, hooded by Professor Jason Lai. In engineering education, Philip Reed Brown, hooded by Professor Holly Matusevich. Brian John Novoselic, hooded by Professor David Knight. In engineering mechanics, Yasir Abo El Qasim, hooded by Professor Jeff Borgard. Naveed Ahmad, hooded by Professor Jeff Borgard. Mohammed Youssef Al-Haik, hooded by Professor Mohammed Haj. Abdul Mohsin Abdurrahman Al-Othman, hooded by Professor Mohammed Haj. Adarsh Kumar Chaurasia, hooded by Professor Gary Seidel. Yan Ching Fu, hooded by Professor Alexander Leonessa. Sean William Gart, hooded by Professor Sung Wan Jung. Mohammed Shahriar Kandakar, hooded by Professor David Dillard. Hoda Koshyar, hooded by Professor Mari Nussbaum. Beruz Tavakol, hooded by Professor Douglas Holmes. Mohammed Yahiyaz Zakaria Mohammed, hooded by Professor Mohammed Haj. In Industrial and Systems Engineering, Nasibe Azadeh Fard, hooded by Professor Jaime Camillo. Kaveh Bastani, hooded by Professor James Kong. Rajaram Bhagavatula, hooded by Professor Ronald Gibbons and Professor Mari Nussbaum. Layli Farokvar, hooded by Professor Don Taylor. Behruz Kamali, hooded by Professor Don Taylor. Neveen Mutlu, hooded by Professor Ibru Bish. Ehsan Rashedi, hooded by Professor Mari Nussbaum. Lynette Flora Wilcox, hooded by Professor Brian Kleiner and Professor Lisa McNair. Hui Zhang, hooded by Professor Christian Wernz. In Materials Science and Engineering, Taylor Kiefer Blair, hooded by Professor Gary Pickrell. William Carey Hill, hooded by Professor Gary Pickrell. Michelle Eduardo Vargas Vallejo, hooded by Professor Bill Nockey. Zhenbo Shah, hooded by Professor Rohan Yoon. In Mechanical Engineering, Alan Miaro Arisi, hooded by Professor Wing Nguyen. Hesam Baba Hosseini, hooded by Professor Masood Aga. Atiye Hagdost, hooded by Professor Masood Aga. Abdullah Mohammed Hassan, hooded by Professor Mehdi Amanian. Paula Aramillo Cienfuegos, hooded by Professor Alexander Leonessa. Mehdi Kargar, hooded by Professor William Ducker and Professor Amy Pruden. Anudeep Kishore Bupalam, hooded by Professor Corina Sandhu. Nagendra Krishnamurthy, hooded by Professor Danish Tafti. Guanchen Li, hooded by Professor Michael von Spakovsky. Mohammed Motamidi, hooded by Professor Corina Sandhu. Jaideep Pandit, hooded by Professor Srinath Ekad and Professor Scott Huxtable. William Carl Schneck III, hooded by Professor Walter O'Brien. Joseph Wesley Starr, hooded by Professor Brian Latimer. Sajad Zainodini Memand, hooded by Professor Mehdi Ahmadian. In mining engineering, Benjamin Paul Farman, hooded by Professor Eric Westman. Juan Ma, hooded by Professor Rohan Yoon. From the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences in Counselor Education, Ryan Michael Cook, hooded by Professor Laura Welfare. Claudia Elizabeth Howell, hooded by Professor Gerard Lawson. Jennifer Lynn Keith, hooded by Professor Laura Welfare. Jessica Diana Prince Sanders, hooded by Professor Gerard Lawson. In curriculum and instruction, Michelle D. Irvine, hooded by Professor Barbara Lockie. Matthew W. Grimes, hooded by Professor Susan Magliaro. Michael Edwin Grubbs, hooded by Professor John Wells. Kathy Daria James Springer, hooded by Professor Catherine Sinamo. Tony Marie Mapuana Kaui, hooded by Professor Jeremy Ernst. Everton Ray Lewis, hooded by Professor Mark Sanders and Professor Mary Alex Barksdale. Lisa Ann Moyer, hooded by Professor John Wells. Miranda Lee Sigmon, hooded by Professor Mary Alice Barksdale. Jennifer D. Snyder, hooded by Professor Brett Jones. Alexis Marino Stoner, hooded by Professor Catherine Sinamo and Professor Pierre Gunnar Bullenson. In Educational Leadership and Policy Studies, Kenneth Eugene Moles, hooded by Professor David Parks. In Human Development, Errol D. Alexander, Jr., hooded by Professor Mia Alexander Snow. Andrea Valeria Rowitz Swenson, hooded by Professor Anissa Zvankovic. From the College of Natural Resources in Fisheries and Wildlife, Victor James DiCenzo, hooded by Professor Steve McMullen. Kimberly M. Matson Hansen, hooded by Professor Paul Angermeyer and Professor Eric Hallerman. In Forestry and Forest Products, Matthew W. Baker, hooded by Professor Laszlo Horvath. J. E. Raymond, hooded by Professor Thomas Fox. In Geospatial and Environmental Analysis, Wan Hoi Huang, hooded by Professor Eric Wiseman. Tammy Parise, hooded by Professor James Campbell. From the College of Science in Biological Sciences, Renee Peach, hooded by Professor David Schmale. In Chemistry, Ninad Yogesh Dixit, hooded by Professor Stephen Martin and Professor Robert Moore. Elise Michelle Naughton, hooded by Professor Robert Moore, and sadly missing is her co-advisor, the late Professor Karen Brewer. Hannah Malalu Rogers, hooded by Professor James Tanko for the late Professor Karen Brewer. Jared Nathaniel Spencer, hooded by Professor James Tanko. In mathematics, Boris Martin Joseph Kramer, hooded by Professor John Burns. Alan Martin Latimer, hooded by Professor Jeff Borgard. Kiyo Moon, hooded by Professor Slimani Ajirid. Taiji Wang, hooded by Professor Michael Renardi. In physics, Hiba Asi, hooded by Professor Uwe Tauber. Carter W. Chamberlain, hooded by Professor John Simonetti. Philip Lewis Hokendoner, hooded by Professor William Mather. Patrick John Jafke, hooded by Professor Patrick Huber. Yao Li, hooded by Professor Leo Pillanen. Ji Wei Tsai, hooded by Professor John Simonetti. Kimberly Marie Williams, hooded by Professor Leo Pillanen. In statistics, Chen Chen, hooded by Professor Marion Reynolds. Andrew B. Hoig, hooded by Professor Scotland Lehman. From the Virginia, Maryland Regional College of Veterinary Medicine in Biomedical and Veterinary Sciences, Jagadishwaran Devantiran, hooded by Professor Jiang Jin Meng. Hassan Mustafa Mohammed Masoub, hooded by Professor William Pearson. Yan Ni, hooded by Professor Jiang Jin Meng. Pablo Enrique Pinedo Pinheiro, hooded by Professor Jiang Jin Meng. In interdisciplinary doctoral degrees in genetics, bioinformatics, and computational biology, Richard Rosario Rodriguez, hooded by Professor Mark Williams. In macromolecular science and engineering, Shanika Janyu, hooded by Professor Timothy Long. Ozma Red Lane, hooded by Professor Judy Riffle. Joy Ann Audrine Marks, hooded by Professor Kevin Edgar. Shantanu Ranadi, hooded by Professor David Dillard. Jing Yang, hooded by Professor Charles Fraser. From the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences, receiving the Doctor of Education in Curriculum and Instruction, Sharon Wenzel Bowers, hooded by Professor Jeremy Ernst. Millicent Hope Carroll, hooded by Professor John Wells. Charlotte Ann Holter, hooded by Professor John Wells. In Educational Leadership and Policy Studies, Rohan Cumberbatch Smith, hooded by Professor Ted Price. Katrina Cherry Manigo, hooded by Professor Carol Cash. Anita Michelle Owens, hooded by Professor Carol Cash. Marcus Clifton Sartin, hooded by Professor Carol Cash. And if you'll permit me an overused statement, last but not least, from the College of Science, receiving the Doctor of Philosophy in Chemistry, David Bruce Hobart, Jr., hooded by Professor Joe Marola.
Okay, a round of applause for our newest doctoral recipients. As we move towards the master's candidates, I would first like to acknowledge those students who have earned a postmaster education specialist degree and those who have earned the graduate certificate. Please stand if you have earned a graduate certificate or an EDS degree. I know there are many of you out there. Don't be shy. Okay, congratulations. You may be seated. The university offers a number of distinctive master's degrees. The largest numbers are from the disciplines that confer the Master of Arts degree or the Master of Science degree. The other master's degree includes Master of Fine Arts, Master of Business Administration, and professional master's degrees in disciplines such as architecture, business, education, engineering, forestry, information technology, landscape architecture, natural resources, public affairs, and urban planning, and public health. Will all the master's candidates please rise? President Sands, I have the honor to present the candidates for the master's degrees.
With the power vested in me by the Board of Visitors and the Commonwealth of Virginia, and upon recommendation of the faculty, I confer upon you the master's degrees to which you are entitled, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto.
Please be seated. Will the marshals please escort the candidates for the master's degree to the stage? Professor Marola again will read the names of the master's recipients.
From the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, receiving the Masters of Science in Agriculture and Applied Sciences, Jude Sayed Isa. Go. Kayla Tanksley. Michael Giersey. Yan Chen. Emma Shirey. Meredith Adams. Sarah McKay. Elisa Mark. Receiving the Masters of Science in Agriculture and Extension Education, Devin Johnson. Receiving the Masters of Science in Agriculture and Life Sciences, Govinda Baral. Teresa Long. Ian Pasquarelli. Michelle Jambui. Catherine Oliver. Receiving the Masters of Life Sciences in Biochemistry, Benedicta Forsen. Minor Medrano. Receiving the Masters of Science in Crop and Soil Environmental Sciences, Lucas Waller. Julia Cushman. Benjamin Averett. Wangui Gishane. Andre Diata. Fatu Tain. Aisatu Diouf. Nadeyi Diallo. Sekuna Diata. Mariimi Drame. Receiving the Masters of Life Sciences in Entomology, Asa Balayara. Ngok Pham. Receiving the Masters of Life Sciences in Food Science and Technology, Andrew Gilly. Christopher Caver. Jordan Newkirk. Caroline Ryan. Kimia Amin. Omule Ndiaye. Andrew Smithson. Renata Vieira Carnero. Haley Potts. Tyler Stoneham. Thomas Houff. Brittany Junius. Receiving the Masters of Science in Horticulture, Leslie Peck. Receiving the Masters of Science in Human Nutrition, Foods, and Exercise, Heather Petty. Carly McDougall. Erin Passaro. Caitlin Hill. Anna Taggart. Cameron Lowry. Katerina Smiljanets. Lily Nealon. Receiving the Masters of Life Sciences in Plant Pathology, Physiology, and Weed Science, Anna Benton. Thank you. Morgan Franke. Yaya Diallo. From the College of Architecture and Urban Studies, receiving the Master of Architecture, Michael Bednar. Gregory Chin. Jacob Tuzo. George Williams. Giacomo Aloka Hernandez. Vignesh Kamath. Megan Gregoris. Jared Lane. Ann Hall. Alexander Couture. Natsumi Oba. Brian Chanda. Donald McElwain. Receiving the Master of Public and International Affairs in Government and International Affairs, Nada Barada. Receiving the Master of Urban and Regional Planning, Nathan Dom. Joshua Lee. Adam Meyer. Julia Moeller. Anna Vicinanzo. Allison Homer. Hessan John Farouk. Tianjun Lu. Wenshu Pan. Yabai Li. Xu Yue Wang. Sarah Morgan. Lindsay Laird. Dorian Allen. Receiving the Master of Public Administration, Amy Kochert. Eric Bateman. From the Pamplin College of Business, receiving the Master of Accounting and Information Systems, Scott Burlow. Jordan Hensberger. Deanna Bradley. Rachel Shapiro. Tiffany Locke. Benjamin Swager. Emily Messer. Darren Kilby. Harrison Hughes. Gregory Smith. Christopher Tyler. Mason Norsworthy. Dylan Franklin. Brittany Reif. Cara Elpa. Jack Bellow. Caitlin Lydens. Daniel Wilson. James Anderson. Hunter Lipsky. Joseph Franke. Jason Bales. Sui Jun Wu. Zhani Zhu. Chanyi Chang. Mengnan Cheng. Jinjuan Hao. Wenbo Kai. Xu Zhao. Shannon Bevan. James Kobe. Alfie Cintron. Joseph Yurkovich. Tracy Malmberg. Hua Jun Liu. Jing Xu. Yun Yu Bao. Harris Khan. Kevin Parker. Michaela Carlotta Jarach. Adriana Hakma. Sonia Crestinato. Simone Luder. Eliane Mueller. Violante Pedersini. From the College of Engineering, receiving the Master of Science in Aerospace Engineering, Henry Murray. Eric Santuri. Christopher Marr. Molly Segee. Kara Crosser. Ben Names. Daniel Luciani. Seth Berry, receiving the Master of Science in Biological Systems Engineering, Rachel D. Johnson. Brianne Ensor. David Roth. Jacob Cantor, receiving the Master of Science in Civil Engineering, Amanda Dritchell. Matthew Runyon. Luke Levon. Nandita Ahuja. Lindsay Swain. Paul Bender. Brandon Cooper, Kai Sen Lin, Joshua Gozum, Todd Ehrenholt, James Duval, Mitchell McGee, Bernadette Corrado, Fanny Tao, Elizabeth Bales, Gage Pepin, Thanawat Chayanukunlikit, Amar Motorwala, Akshay Krishnan, Hasib Tahir, Samuel Ferrara, Ran Tu, Donya Zahiri Sarabi, Clara Lorenzo Tavares, Vamsi Mohan Bhaskar Dasari, Han Chuang, Jashanvir Singh, Shivesh Shrestha, Nazana Weeks, Eugene Amar, Nikolaus Tsikas, Mohammed Almana, Jun Shi, David Kindle, Nikhil Palapali, Ajit Chandra Saya, Pallavi Deshmukha, Harmish Modi, Divya Trandakant Bala, Namitha Somasundaram, Harsh Agrawal, that's a person, Kevin Madsen, Marian Alicia, Jihan Wang, Xuhui Zhang. Receiving the Master of Science in Computer Science and Applications, Ananya Chaudhuri, Nabanita Maji, Chaitra Raghunath, Rathna Senthil, Aishwarya Saktiswaran, Shivani Dawal, Krishnan Panamali Murali, Pranav Nakate, Divit Singh, William Ellis, Christopher Special Fursina, Nathan Self, Yangling Ao, Dong Chen, receiving the Master of Science and Master of Engineering in Electrical Engineering, Michael Clavel, Peter Nguyen, Abinit Parchuri, Sayantan Guha, Mohammad Riza Zargarzadeh, Hedia Elyasi, Surabhi Gaupandi, Akruthi Gopasetti, Sapita Sultanian Zadeh, Sriram Ananth, Bala Gangadhar Jonalagada, Harika Santapuri, Namrata Rajiv Kedia, Arun Thekum Parampil, Rohan Gaur, Shankar Krishnan, Ayesha Arzbegi, Kunal Sandesh Amari, Abhishek Abhyankar, Rachel Bourne, Frederick Harris, Youssef Al-Abdrabanabi, Ning Lee, Pratik Prasad Joshi, Garima Malhotra, receiving the Master of Science in Material Science and Engineering, Anna Skinner. Peter Kim, Benjamin Dillinger, Sean McMillan, Ya Peng Yu, receiving the Master of Science in Mechanical Engineering, James Ellsworth, William Dvorkin, Eduardo Marquez Brunal, Brian Birch, Lucas Schultz, Courtney Tamaro, Malaysia Jones, John Seminatore, Timothy Pote, Graham Day, Evan Smith, Daniel Whitehurst, Christopher Mobley, Matthew Meeder, Ashley Taylor, Ryan Muntz, Dustin Bales, Christopher Stockinger, Karthik Balasubramanian, Bharat Viswanath Ravi, Sankar Mahadevan, Jaydeep Deshpande, Surabhi Ramdasi, receiving the Master of Science in Mining Engineering, Aaron McCullough, Julian Restrepo, Lucas Rojas Mendoza. Meredith Skaggs. Receiving the Master of Science in Mechanical Engineering, Wei Jiao Dong. Receiving the Master of Science in Industrial Systems Engineering, Bajiv Rao Shantam Raju. Hannah Vincent. Maria Barrell. James Comstock. Amal Bhatt. Abhishek Kaur. Rahul Gupta. David Powers. Matthew Davis. Derek Ho. Yaji Hu. Zilun Zhu. Kanleani Prariporn. Wenjing Wang. Cody Panetti. Receiving the Master of Science in Systems Engineering, Joel Comiskey. Leonard DePrisco. From the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences, receiving the Master of Arts in Communications, Angelica Smith. Receiving the Master of Arts in Education in Career and Technical Education, Gordon Ruhonimi. Caitlin Cook. Lauren Nance. Callie Claybrook. Receiving the Master of Arts in Education in Counselor Education, Whitney Artutis. Mary Hastings. Victoria Hayes. Jamie Peters. Courtney Woodside. Receiving the Master of Arts in Education in Curriculum and Instruction, Ann Combs. Joseph Ballard. Amberly Westermeyer. Elizabeth Remchuk. Vaughn Richardson. Keen McBride. Kendra Forey. Aisha Sherbini. Chavis Comer. Joseph Marsoff. Alisa Hamlet. Michelle Newby. Christina Hagen. Julia Hoback. Catherine Spicknall. Laura McConchie. Christopher Seamus. Tanley Brown. Shannon Gray. Rebecca Verstoris. Emily McLeod. Jordan Pruitt. Caitlin Merriman. Catherine Leachman. Carlin Triggs, Virginia Stowe, Dylan Cately, Joseph Hum, Evaristo Martins, Andy Koch, Arabella Myers, Nguyen Ruby Tran, Ethan Davis, Peter Smith, Morgan Walls, Andrea Bustos, Rachel Stahl, Laura Patton, Allison Gray, Megan Fallring, Danielle Langberg, Evan Becker, Robin Hieronymus, Dana Stutz, Grace Wild, Sarah Helwig, Madeline Leonard, Sean Leake, Caitlin Catalfumo, Jennifer Hawthorne, Jacqueline Daly, Morgan Latimer, Jessica Sutherland, Rachel Miller, Krista Gladish, Jordan O'Donnell, Alexander McDonald, Sarah Eiler, Justin Bland, Michael Moore, Emily Cooper, Amanda Armstrong, Ruth Kim, Lauren Lovell, Lauren Stevenson, Jane Gates, Kelly Brubaker, Madison Irwin, Mary Fowler, Marina Goldberg, Caitlin Storks, Christina Bowser, Morgan Jacobson, Allison Page Roberts, Christiana Connolly, Sarah Ogle, Lindsay Floyd. Lacey Grindstaff. Virginia Rose Williams. Allison Couillard. Krista Pattison. Nolan Nichols. Receiving the Master of Arts in English, Katie Brooks. Courtney Culligan. Joshua Dobbs. Alexis Victoria Elizabeth Michelle Harper. Lisa Summy. Receiving the Master of Arts in Education in Higher Education Administration, Brittany Taylor. Gihei Kim. Kathleen Verderosa. Brian Dimitri Armstrong, Jr. Brittany Davis. Whitley Monet Johnson. Kayla St. Clair. Sarah Sweeney. Meredith Levine. James McClellan. Amanda Egan. Brian Field. Amanda Hoffman. Receiving the Master of Arts in Material Culture and Public Humanities, Lauren Henson. Jacqueline Sanders. Receiving the Master of Arts in Philosophy, Joseph Frazier. Matt Lindsay. Receiving the Master of Arts in Political Science, Kevin Schwartz. Rebecca Moser. Catherine Steffi. Margaret Appleby. Receiving the Master of Science in Science and Technology Studies, Samantha Freed. From the College of Natural Resources, receiving the Master of Science and Master of Forestry in Forestry, Brooke Warrington. Danny Hazelwood. Receiving the Master of Science in Geography, Mario Garza. Camille Martineau. John Banza. Michael Marston. Amanda Michaels. Receiving the Master of Natural Resources, Christopher Wade. Sheng-Yi Yang. From the College of Science, receiving the Master of Science in Biological Sciences, Shivani Grover. Simone Campbell. Receiving the Master of Science in Mathematics, Felicia Freeman. Joshua Brinsfield. Sohail Farhangi. Alexander Friedman. From the Virginia, Maryland Regional College of Veterinary Medicine, receiving the Master of Science in Biomedical and Veterinary Sciences, Patricia Baltasar. Bakia Lakshmi Amayapan Venkatachalam. Receiving the Master of Public Health, Ashley Briggs. Ashley Taylor. Brianna Apgar, Karen Meidenbauer, Karina Chavez, Fatima Zargami, Srijana Parajuli, Lucy Masiko, Mi Zhu, Nargas Salsadat Doratoljaj, Mindy Thorpe, Jessica Maudsley, Bastiana Rodabau, Kirsten Smith, Corina Bayuk, Jennifer Cacciola, Virginia Corrigan, Rebecca Price, Mitchell Blount, Francis Roldan, Raven Sullivan, Linda Robertson Aliff, David Collins, Lauren Fargus, Cedric Mubikayi Kabaseli, Sonia Dulamis, Brittany Haas, Laura Kohler. From interdisciplinary degree programs receiving the Master of Information Technology, Donald Butler. Lonnie Elrod. James Kirk. Jessica Oakes. Jewel Bostick. Janine Tondreau. Mehdi Amr Sultani.
One more round of applause for our graduates. As a final note, I would like to call upon Dr. Rami Daoul, President of the Faculty Senate, to bring a brief message of congratulations on behalf of the university faculty.
Thank you, Dean DePaul. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of nearly 1,500 faculty at Virginia Tech, I truly appreciate the opportunity to welcome you, your friends, your families, and thank them first for their unconditional support during your graduate studies, and congratulations to all of them on your achievements. However, we are here to celebrate your accomplishments, and the faculty are always grateful for your contributions to the university, even when we do not always express such gratitude. Receiving a graduate degree is very special, but it is more so at Virginia Tech. Whether you continued from your undergraduate degree at Virginia Tech or joined the Hokie Nation from other institutions, domestic or international, You all worked hard to adjust to graduate life and were challenged in so many ways during your journey to earning this honor. You have discovered that graduate education is a unique experience, and along the way, you helped us, the faculty, in so many ways. While we often take credit for service of the university missions, you are the true driving force behind our success. From running studies to collecting and analyzing data, and you've all been there, drafting manuscripts, teaching classes and labs, as well as mentoring fellow students, we cannot be grateful enough for what you consistently do. Your journey was not easy, but here you are. It culminated in a tremendous success. We hope that the special partnership you have established with the faculty will continue as you pursue career opportunities, and hope it will lead you to become our colleagues. We wish you and your families and friends the very best, and on behalf of your future colleagues, the Hokie faculty, congratulations to the class of 2016. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dulul. And a special thanks to Dr. Marola as the reader of names. To the faculty, yes, you deserve a special congratulations. To the faculty, ushers, and marshals, to the members of the Color Guard, and to Jessica Vance and her wonderful voice, and the members of Virginia Tech Bass Ensemble for their part in this afternoon's ceremony. Now, would you please stand until the stage party has recessed? With the recessional, our ceremony will be concluded. Thank you for joining us, and have a safe trip home.